Hey folks, David G here. Is traveling with one bag the key to stress-free travel? In this video, I want to go in depth on why I think it is and how I pack to travel with just one bag. After trying a few different bags, I've settled on the Osprey Farpoint. And let it be known that Osprey is not sponsoring this video in any way. In its price range, I just find that it's the best bag available. And I also like the ease with which it can be turned into something similar to a duffel bag. I've been using my Farpoint for close to a year now, and you can see that it's held up quite well. Before I used the Osprey bag that I'm currently using, I used to use a bag that I bought just at Decathlon. Both the 4-class bag from Decathlon and the Osprey bag are 40 liters, but the bag from Decathlon came in a whole lot cheaper. Back when I purchased this bag from Decathlon, it cost me about $60, but now the price has gone up to about $100. That makes the Osprey only $85 more, which I think is actually well worth the money. If you're just looking for the lowest possible price available that still has some quality to it, then I'd go with the Decathlon. But I've found that the Osprey is worth paying $85 extra for. The thing that I've found that's weighed me down the most throughout my years of traveling has to be clothing. After what ended up being really years of trials and tribulations, I found a good way to pack all the clothing I need for just about any trip without feeling as though I was overpacked. One thing that I've found completely necessary are packing cubes. It seems like just about every travel guide actually recommends these, but then will point you to very expensive options. What you may not know is that you can actually get pretty good cubes for under $20. I've personally been using some cubes that I bought at Decathlon for about 10 euros actually, so that's about $12 or $13, and they've lasted me more than 5 years now. Amazon also has a budget option that appears functional and has pretty good reviews. I haven't tried the ones from Amazon myself, but if Decathlon were out of stock, then maybe that'd be a good second place to look. I usually use the larger packing cube for larger clothing items. On trips when I don't use as much cold weather clothing, then sometimes I have a little bit of extra space to put non-clothing items in it too. Then the two smaller packing cubes get a division of all of my smaller clothing items. I pretty much always stick to packing for about 7 days. For me, that means one pair of jeans, one pair of hiking pants, one pair of hiking shorts, one pair of nicer shorts, one or maybe two button-up shirts, a couple of t-shirts, a Uniqlo Heat Tech long sleeve shirt and sometimes long johns to go with it, a hat, sunglasses and prescription glasses together in one case, up to 4 pairs of underwear, and then between 2 and 5 pairs of socks, depending on what climates I'll be visiting. There can be a huge difference in time between how long different materials can go without a wash. And I find that low quality cotton and certain acrylic materials are just too limiting to pack. I tend to aim to keep my clothing budget small at all times, but make a point of searching out good deals on linen, hemp, and merino wool clothes. These 3 materials just don't need to be washed as often, though I think it's worth keeping in mind that linen and hemp tend to wrinkle, so if you're looking for that fresh, crisp look, then they might not be for you. It's also worth considering that the costs for merino wool can get quite high. So I find it important to prioritize with my budget here. I do find that these merino wool socks from Decathlon work really well though. 2 other absolute necessities that I always bring when I'm traveling are a dirty clothes bag and a bag for shoes. On the topic of footwear, I've been sticking to just bringing a pair of Tevas and a pair of hiking boots on my trips as of late. Since I'm usually wearing the boots, I don't even need space for them. For trips when I'm going to tropical weather and I'll be at the beach a lot, I make sure to pack a pair of flip-flops too. And then for trips where I won't really be going into cold weather at all, I usually pack a pair of shoes instead of a pair of boots. Packing a complete hygiene bag is also really important to me. It gets you through security fast at the airport, but it's also a useful tool for organization. I like to keep the bags that I get in business class, and I got a great one back in 2020 on Qantas. So I've been using that for my hygiene bag ever since. My liquids are pretty standard, and of course I always keep them under 100 milliliters or 3.4 ounces, so I don't have to check the bag. At minimum, I usually pack some toothpaste, some Veleda lotion, sunscreen, shaving cream, and a small amount of soap. Most of the time these things are available where I'm staying, but quality can really differ greatly. So I make a point of having any basics that I'll need. Then for tech, I keep it pretty simple. It's really unavoidable to travel with a computer these days, so I pack one, and the Osprey has a great little pouch for that. And then beyond that, I bring an iPhone, but that's usually in my pocket. And then I've got a GoPro that I use for most filming, And the bundle case that I got with the GoPro is pretty useful for keeping other tech stuff like an SSD drive, cables, and really any other small things that I need. I don't always get a SIM card in the country that I'm traveling to, but they can be useful to have. I think it's pretty important for any traveler to have an unlocked smartphone and then to carry around a paperclip or a SIM card removal pin to switch SIM cards. And then otherwise, I've got a few other miscellaneous items I like to pack. I always find it useful to have a second smaller bag for day trips in my larger backpack, so I bought this one back in Japan from Uniqlo. It's a backpack, but it doubles as a shoulder bag, so that's pretty useful. And then I often also carry this other little bag that I got from Uniqlo and put stuff like my GoPro, my passport, or my wallet in there when I'm out and about. And then I always end up finding it useful to have a refillable bottle that works for both hot and cold liquids. Nearly every packing tutorial you'll see will tell you to avoid carrying any physical books. This definitely can make sense considering they take up space and they can weigh a lot, but it's also important to pack to your own needs. I personally always pack one book. In our digitized world, it's easy and convenient to do nearly everything digitally. But I personally find the value of having a physical book to outweigh the importance of completely maximizing space and weight when I pack. To put it into perspective, I value having a good book with me a little bit more than having an extra t-shirt. Just to be clear, I do only travel with one book at a time, and generally when I'm done reading it, I donate it or trade it in for another one if there's a good bookstore around. So if you don't feel like you need to have a book like me, then that's perfectly okay. Everybody has their own packing needs. Maybe you can replace that book with something else that you need to pack more. All in all, I find the setup that I just shared with you to be what I need right now for travel. But I'm pretty much always looking for ways to improve it. So if you have other ideas on how to best pack with one bag for a trip, then share them in the comments below. And if you found this video useful, then let me know by giving it a like and consider subscribing to my channel for more videos to help you travel better.